Reading a crochet pattern can seem confusing and complicated when you're first trying to learn, but it really is a lot easier than you think once you get the hang of the standard terms and formatting. In today's video, I want to break it down for you as simply as possible and show you how empowering and fun it actually is to decode a pattern. I've gone ahead and added timestamps along the progress lines so you can skip to your point of interest, so let's get started. A pattern has some basic sections that provide all the information you need to get started. You'll usually find a skill level of the pattern. This will let you know what level of difficulty, whether it's easy or advanced. The measurements of a finished project. The supplies or materials needed to make the project. A list of the stitches used in the pattern. And often there will be a notes section with additional info that the designer wants you to know before you get started. This might even include specialty stitches that they want you to be aware of, but they don't want to keep sharing throughout the body of the pattern. There should also be a note somewhere letting you know whether the pattern is written in US or UK terms, but if it's not there, it's very easy to figure out. Skim over the pattern and see if you see any reference for a single crochet. This is not a UK term, so you'll never see it as one of their stitches. And finally, you'll probably find a gauge swatch measurement. I won't go into great detail here on how to make one, but I do speak about it briefly in a video that I'll go ahead and link to here. So once you've chosen your pattern and skimmed over the details, then it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of the pattern itself. A pattern consists of these main elements: abbreviated terms and stitches, punctuation, and repeats. A crochet pattern is really similar to a recipe. The abbreviation and punctuation helps to save a lot of space, and it also helps to save your mental space too, because you're not expending so much energy reading the same thing over and over again. So just like a recipe, you'll have abbreviations for different terms. It's a good idea to get familiar with abbreviated terms, but it's not necessary for you to go and memorize them. That will come with time and practice. You're probably already familiar with a lot of them already. Now, a good pattern will often provide a list of stitches that will be used with their abbreviations, but if you're ever in doubt, a great resource to bookmark is the Craft Yarn Council's website. Here you can find an extensive list of the most commonly used terms and stitches along with their abbreviations. Parentheses are often used to describe a group of stitches that are worked together. Along with grouping stitches together, parentheses will also be used to set aside other important information within the pattern. For example, you'll see this often after a chain to let you know that it's serving as a stitch. You might also see parentheses at the beginning of a pattern. This is common if you're working on something that has multiple sizes. This way the designer can show you the different stitch counts for all the different sizes for that pattern. And if you see it at the end, it's usually to show you how many stitches were created within that row or round. So now moving on to brackets, what's interesting is often you'll see brackets or parentheses used interchangeably. This is the designer's prerogative. They're also commonly used with parentheses when there are two groups of instructions that are nested within each other. Now don't worry, I know this sounds complicated, but later I'm going to show you how to work through this and it's really easy. Now if you see braces or curly brackets, these are usually just used similarly to regular brackets. Okay, and now moving on to asterisks, the little star shape. Whenever you see this, it just means that you're going to repeat that series of stitches. Now if you see a double asterisk, don't panic. That's just there to show you an incomplete repeat. When you're reading through the pattern, don't even worry about doing anything with the asterisk until the pattern tells you to. And I'll be showing you examples of how to do this later in the video. As you're reading through a pattern, commas and semicolons help a lot to follow along the pattern knowing where to stop and start. My biggest tip here is to look at your commas as pauses as you're working through the directions and to replace that comma in your mind with the word then. For example, chain 2, comma, double crochet in the next stitch. Could be read as chain 2, then double crochet into the next stitch. Now when you see a semicolon, that's usually there to let you know that you've completed the entire sequence and you'll be given instructions on what to do next. So let's work some examples of how this would look if you're working on a pattern. I'm using this motif pattern from a book called Beyond the Square, Crochet Motifs, written by Edie Eckman. You can find the link to this one in the description box below. I'm going to work a couple of rounds from this motif because they show how all of these pattern components work together. So let's start with round 1. Here you can see that we have to start with a chain 5, and then in the parentheses we have our first "oh by the way" guide, letting us know that the chain 5 counts as a double crochet and a chain 2. And right after this I see a comma, so I know that I can continue on after I've done this. So now that that's done, I'm getting ready to continue on, but I do see that I have an asterisk. This just means that I'll have to repeat this part at some point, but I don't have to worry about it right now. I can just continue on until I get an instruction for that. So next, double crochet in ring, chain 2, and then I see a semicolon. Remember, when you see the semicolon, that means you've come to the end of a sequence. And there's my instruction with the asterisk. Repeat from asterisk 5 more times. So that's what I'll do. I'll go back up to the asterisk and follow the directions just like before, making sure to do it 5 more times. And once I've done that, I can continue on. I see my comma, so then I double crochet in ring, then join with half double crochet to third chain of chain 5. Period. I'm completely finished. And at the end here, I have my stitch count available within the parentheses. 8 chain 2 spaces. So let's move on to round 4 because it's a good example of parentheses and brackets working together, plus a double asterisk. So we start with a chain 4, and our "oh by the way" in the parentheses is that it counts as a double crochet and chain 1. Next we see the asterisk, so we know at some point we'll have to repeat this portion, but for now we just continue on with the sequence. Take a moment with me to look over it. This is a long sequence with a lot of commas, a bracket with parentheses inside of it, plus there's even a double asterisk. Not to worry, this just means that I'll be doing an incomplete repeat at some point, but the pattern will tell me when. So I'm going to replace all of the commas with the word "then." First I need to skip 1 double crochet, and then double crochet in next double crochet, then chain 1. I have a comma letting me know that I need to continue on, but here is our bracket with the parentheses nested inside of it. Remember that a bracket and parentheses together like this is just to help define 2 sets of instructions that need to be worked together. So I need to double crochet and chain 1 3 times in the chain 2 space. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I can continue on since I see a comma. So then I need to do a double crochet in the next double crochet, then chain 1, then skip 1 double crochet, then double crochet in the next double crochet, then chain 2, then single crochet in the next single crochet, then chain 2. Now I see here the double asterisk, but I haven't been told what to do with it yet, so I just ignore it for now and continue on since I see a comma. So then I double crochet in the next double crochet, then chain 1. And here's my semicolon. That's my indication that the sequence is done. And the pattern is telling me that I need to repeat from 1 asterisk around, meaning do this all the way around the entire square, ending my last repeat at the double asterisk. So when I reach the end of my last repeat, I go only as far as the last chain 2 because I don't have any space left for the whole sequence, just like I'm shown with the double asterisk. And so now I know I'm on track, and I can go back to this line, and it says to join with a slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the chain 3 that is there. Perfect. And that's how you go about it. It's really just a case of taking your time, paying attention to the punctuation, and just taking it step by step. Now, if you're really having a hard time understanding the sequences, I have found that it helps to rewrite it as bullet points using the different commas and breaks in the sequences to divide it up. This helps to give a little space for my eyes to land, and then I can take it step by step, again replacing the commas with the word "then." Sometimes a pattern tells you to work in a space. That simply means that instead of working into a stitch, you'll instead work into the space that was created by the previous row or round. Sometimes it can also be confusing when a pattern mentions working the right side or the wrong side. This just means the front and back of your piece. The front of your crochet is considered the right side, and the back of your piece is considered the wrong side. As well as learning how to read patterns, I'd highly recommend that you get yourself familiar with how to read charts. You'll be amazed at how much you use them once you get the hang of it. Again, it's just a case of learning the basic symbols and formatting, and you can find out how to do that over at the Craft Yarn Council. But if you'd like me to do a video on that as well, be sure to let me know in the comments. If you enjoy tip videos like this, here's a playlist that I think you'll like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.